Welcome back to The Peaceful Entrepreneur. I can't believe we're back. I am so giddy, jittery, excited right now. Like, why am I nervous? This is literally editable. Nobody is watching me live, but I just have this jittery, giddy, excited feeling to be back. It feels so right to be sitting here recording this. I have so much to catch you up on. It has been exactly 2 years since my last episode was posted. The last episode let you know that I was going on a break and I did not know how long that break would be. But I always knew it would just be a break. It would not be an end forever because I started this podcast out of a passion and that passion never died. I just out of necessity had to stop for my own health and get some things in order. The passion continued the whole time. I never once doubted that I would come back, and I've just been looking at every turn for an opportunity to come back. There have been a couple of times I've entertained it and it just wasn't the right time. And now it finally is the time. And so I am here today to tell you the entire story, fill you in on what brought me to the point of having to stop in the first place, and then what has happened since then. Let me tell you, some things have happened. Pretty much my whole life is different now. So I'm just going to treat this like you're my best friend. I'm recording you a voice message, catching you up on the last 2 years of my life. I'm not trying to be super polished or perfect or scripted. I have talking point notes, but I'm literally just going to sit here and chat, and I can't wait to catch up. So buckle up, get you a coffee. Maybe you're on a road trip. Maybe you're on a walk. Maybe you're cleaning. Like, just settle in. It's going to be so fun. I'm excited to begin this journey again with you. So when I stopped the podcast, I was truly at the bottom. I was completely burnt out. I was exhausted in every area of my life, mentally, physically, emotionally, spiritually, and I just could not keep going. Now, 2 years later, I'm healthier than ever. I'm happier than ever. And I finally feel like I am actually the peaceful entrepreneur I was claiming to be. The irony of me calling this the peaceful entrepreneur, and I was absolutely not a peaceful entrepreneur back then. I had to stop to get myself to be a peaceful entrepreneur, and now here we are. We're back. I have better systems for caring for myself now. I got rid of the things in my life that were draining me. I basically burned down and restarted my entire business. I'm going to tell you that entire story today. I also had a baby, and now embarking on a new journey of motherhood and business ownership and balancing both of those things. And I am here to share every step of that with you. So before we get to how God reopened the door to start the podcast back and what I'm doing next, I have to go back and catch you up from the beginning. So just a quick review. I started my business in 2021. I was bright-eyed and bushy-tailed. I cold pitched a bunch of influencers and I landed my first influencer client within a couple of months. That has continued to go well, continued to grow clients. I ended up bringing my husband on about a year and a half after starting. Around when I brought my husband on is when we started working with Amazon influencers. By the way, I'm talking about my business. It's called Abide Outsourcing, abideoutsourcing.com, and at Abide Outsourcing on Instagram if you want to check it out. But that is my primary business that I have been running since 2021. I started as a virtual assistant. So we were doing virtual assistant work for Amazon influencers. We were posting stories, finding deals, posting blogs, writing emails, managing Facebook groups, doing pretty much everything you could think of. We continued to get new clients, so I started to build a team of people to help me. In the process, already, by the end of year 2 of my business, I was already starting to feel a little bit burnt out. So that's why I started to get help. At the beginning of 2023, that's when I started this podcast. We continued to grow, grew in clients, grew in team members, but continued doing the same services. At the beginning of 2024, we started preparing to move to our dream city. Even though I had hired people in an effort to recover from my burnout and get space and help, I never really addressed the root of the problem. And so my burnout continued to get worse and worse. So by the beginning of 2024, I knew that I needed to do something a little bit more drastic. That would require somebody else managing the business in my place because I was still actively project managing all of the clients and team members that we had. So I began the process of hiring a manager. I got that manager in second half of 2024. I took my sabbatical, and that is where the podcast ended. So the story really begins after sabbatical. This is the part of the journey that has not been documented yet, because you can go back and listen to 2023 through 2024 of my life on the podcast episodes, but this has not been documented. So here's the story. Let me paint the picture of kind of what things looked like when I entered that sabbatical. When I say I was at the end of myself, I was just completely exhausted, emotionally completely exhausted, and it had trickled into affecting me physically. I could not pull myself out of bed in the morning for the life of me. I slept in every morning. I had the hardest time getting up. I was in a state of stress in my mind almost constantly. I just could not find peace. I could not escape. I was constantly worried about the business, a relationship in my personal life. Everything was just wrong. It caused me to, again, feel these fatigue symptoms. I had chronic physical symptoms like asthma and allergies and acid reflux and eczema that were caused by the stress, by the inflammation in my body. And I was just set off so easily. Like any little thing could trigger me. I would stay up at night with racing thoughts. It was not a fun place to live. My mind was not a fun place to be. I had gotten so far into it that I knew I had to do a full reset to really get out of it. And so that's why I took the sabbatical. So what this sabbatical looked like for me, it was a 7-week long break. I fully unplugged from work and social media. I only minimally checked in with the managers to make sure everything was running. I started to address each of those areas. So physically, I started seeing a holistic doctor who got me on some supplements because I think with the fatigue and the stress, my adrenals and my thyroid were so worn down that he gave me supplements to help them. And I felt like a new person. I felt like I woke up and the sun was out again. But it took some time for those to kick in. So the first couple weeks, literally, I don't think I did a thing. I was just like sitting on the couch like a zombie watching shows and stuff. Part 1 was just like numb out for a while. Then I started feeling the effects of these supplements. I started feeling better. I also, with the holistic doctor, worked on what foods I was eating that were causing extra inflammation and started cutting those out. And then I also finally instated a consistent exercise routine. I've exercised on and off in bursts throughout my life, but never been good with a consistent routine. So I started a consistent strength training routine. And so all of those things really started to help me feel a lot better physically. I also knew that within the next year, we were wanting to start our family. So I also had in mind, like, let me go ahead and stop drinking and start doing things to prepare my body to be pregnant because I wanted to set myself up for success as much as possible. I also addressed my mental health. I went to counseling for the first time ever in my life. I had an amazing counselor. She was sort of life coach counselor style. She was exactly what I needed in that time to identify the unhealthy thought processes that were on repeat in my mind. And let me tell you, just identifying them made such a difference because then I could recognize them when they happened and stop them quicker. So she helped me a lot with healing things that were going on in my mind, like false sense of urgency, taking too much responsibility for other people's feelings, perfectionism, all these things that I dealt with my whole life, but they were coming to a head and so exacerbated because of the state I was in. So at the end of the 7 weeks, I was starting to feel much better. I really could have used more time than that, but that's all I could take with the business and the state that it was in. We were entering quarter 4 of the year, and that's the biggest quarter for us. And so I had to end up coming back. And it's really unfortunate because you would think that I would just continue to like get healthier and healthier, but I hit a setback as soon as I came back to work, learned that quite a few clients were wanting to leave. I've actually had pretty good client retention pretty much the entire time in business. So this was distinct. So throughout Q4 of 2024 and then Q1 of 2025, we just continued to lose clients. And I was just hardcore into fix-it mode, trying to find new clients because I had a new level of stress on me. Now we're supporting our entire family. Like this is our livelihood. We also have 6 other people on our team who I am having to pay. I had to maintain a certain level of income to be able to do that. For all of my efforts, I just could not get anybody new to sign on. Then I learned that our largest and longest standing client was also going to be phasing out over the next couple of months. And so at that point, I truly had no other choice than to make some drastic changes because they were such a large percentage of our income. So all of this sent me back downhill. I was having meltdowns and like mental spirals multiple times a month. It even got to the point in like May and June that I was crying almost daily. And I said to my best friend, I'm wondering if I'm depressed because of how much I was crying. I was just really coming to my end. Like I thought I was at the bottom before. Like I was really, truly coming to my wit's end. I was starting to consider more drastic options. Basically, I feel like up until that point, I was trying different things all along the way to make the business better and to solve the problems. But what really needed to happen now that I look back is it just needed to be completely wiped and started clean. And that was too scary for me to admit or to do on my own volition. And so I think God brought me to the point that there was no other option so that he could do what he wanted to do. So on June 19th, 2025, I found out I was pregnant. In that moment, the decision was made because at that point, I am no longer just responsible for myself. I would run myself to the ground every day if it was just me. But now it's me and this beautiful baby that the Lord has given us. And I know that my stress will directly affect that baby. I am now no longer willing to tolerate the level of stress because I need to take care of myself so I can take care of him. I made the gut-wrenching decision to cut our entire team that I had spent years building relationships with. I love these girls. It was probably the hardest thing I've ever had to do in business, but I knew it was my only option. I had to get my expenses down because my income was nosediving and there was nothing I could do about it. As soon as I made that decision, I felt so much relief. I also realized that I was crying every day because I was pregnant and also stressed. So no, I was not depressed. I was just pregnant, but I immediately just had such a weight lifted off my shoulders. In the end, almost all of our clients ended up falling off. I think we kept 3 of the original clients, and we broke it down to just myself and my husband. Again, with me doing the marketing, sales, onboarding, operations, logistics, and my husband overseeing all of the client service delivery, doing it himself. With everything going on, all I cared about was making enough money to provide for our family and set myself up to take care of myself well during pregnancy. All of my dreams of big revenue goals and big team goals and all of these things just shifted because when you bring a baby into the mix, all the other priorities shift. So I was completely happy with just making enough to support ourselves. And that is kind of how I moved forward. We actually dipped so low that we did end up needing a couple more clients. So I went to work trying to find people and I continued to struggle. I still could not sign clients. Looking back, clearly God was doing something there. He was closing that door because he had another one that he was about to open. So one of those 3 clients who stuck with us had been there since the end of 2022, so very long-standing client, came to us and said, hey guys, there's a lot of talk about meta ads for Amazon influencers. I think y'all should look into it. And she probably started saying that in like July or August, and she said it a couple of times. And finally, in October, she said, guys, I just went to the Amazon event. All they're talking about is meta ads. I really think you guys need to get into this. And we had been like starting to help her with hers. And so we were starting to learn on our own. We finally listened and we're like, okay, we'll do it. We will explore meta ads. And of course, it's not the time that I thought I would be launching a new service. I was like 28 weeks pregnant coming up with this new offer. But when I tell you, the Lord just laid it out. I called this client and we brainstormed what the offer would look like, what made sense, how to price it, all of the details. And I had immediate feedback from a real life customer on what made the most sense. I packaged it up. I put it out, immediately sold 2 clients on it. And this is after months and months and months of drought. Within the next month, we signed 2 more. So we had 4 clients on that within a month or 6 weeks. And so I was like, okay, all right, maybe this is something. But then of course I had a baby. So we had to pause. We took a little pause and we actually both took 6 weeks off when we had the baby, which was such a blessing. We brought in 2 of our past team members to cover our work while we were out. So we were able to continue doing the ad services and continue the old services for the clients who were still on. They held down the fort. And when we came back from maternity leave, it's so funny to look back because it was the exact opposite that happened when I came back from sabbatical. When I came back from maternity leave, we had multiple clients asking to upgrade their package, and we had multiple new leads coming in because one of those 4 ads clients had put our name in a group chat with a bunch of Amazon influencers and given us a good word. We had a ton of interest. And so we ended up signing 6 clients within my first couple of weeks back from maternity leave. 6. So this is 10 in about 4 months. Because we had that influx, I ended up asking the girls who had covered for paternity leave to stay on and help if they'd like to stay on indefinitely, and they both agreed to it. So now here I am back with the team again. I never thought I'd have one. I was scared to have one. I felt guilty for having one because I had to cut my team before, and now I felt guilty for rebuilding it again. But the demand was there, and it was so natural because they were already in the door doing that work to cover for our leave. So we get them started with some clients. Luke is running some clients by himself. And we're chilling. We're in a great place financially. Our profit margins are looking great. We are getting close to paying off the debt that we had accrued back when I was paying the whole team, but my income was dipping. I was starting to pay back the debt. The light was at the end of the tunnel there. Things were looking up and we were making plenty. So I was like, okay, good. We don't really need to push for more clients. I want to keep the team small. This is great. Let's just roll with this. That was in May. Well, there's that verse that the Lord will do abundantly more than we ask or imagine. He was not done yet. Amazon hosted an event at the beginning of June. And whenever these events happen, we typically get a lot of referrals because our clients go and talk about us to their friends. Well, sure enough, the day after the event, I got a call booking from one girl who messaged and asked if she could bring her 3 friends. So I had 4 people on one call. Then I had another person book a call for the same exact day. So we had 5 clients in one day. All of them came back saying they wanted to sign on. Then I got another lead from that group chat, and I got 2 more from client referrals. That is 18 ads clients in 8 months. I was pulling teeth to sign 1 a year ago, and now I have 18. We had worked with probably 18 total Amazon clients in the last 5 years. And now we have 18 at one time. But the Lord is he's sending us business. So who am I to say no? Right? Don't block a blessing, right? If the Lord wants to bless you. So we made room. I actually ended up hiring one more person. The Lord dropped her right in my lap too. It was a new friend that I had met just a couple of months before. She was leaving her job at a social media agency. She has her own Amazon influencer account. So she knows the ins and outs of this. And she was looking for a new opportunity right when these people came in the door, as well as one other person to help cover some of Luke's work. Because if we're going to have 18 clients, I want Luke to be his job to primarily be overseeing everybody. And then each of our girls has a few accounts to manage underneath. And Luke had a couple extra things that he did, old services for clients still on the previous model who didn't want to stop their services. So we hired another person from our previous team actually to cover those. So now we had 4 contractors and myself and Luke. But let me remind you, I thought we were going to have a small 2-person business for forever. I'd let my big business dreams go. I'd let go of the greed of constantly wanting more and more and more, really for vanity's sake, if I'm honest. Back when I broke down the team, I did not know what the future would look like. All I wanted was peace and stability for our family. None of this was on my bingo card for this year. All I did was walk through the next door that the Lord opened. Just took the next right step, obeyed the next thing that he led us to. And that truly is the crux of the difference. Is before I was trying to build it all on my own power, all on my own strength, all on my own plan. Sure, I was consulting God. I was not shutting him out of my business, but I was not truly letting him be the leader of my business. I was still leading and being you with me? You with me? You checking in, but I was still leading, driving the ship. Where did that get me? In debt and completely burnt out. When I switched and went into complete surrender mode, again, because I had no other option, because I am prideful. I would have tried to keep going on my own. But the Lord brought me to the point where I could not possibly do that anymore, to where I had to surrender. Now that I am operating in that place, I've maintained my peace this entire time through pregnancy and since. I have had this supernatural peace. Through following his lead, I have built back up a business that is structured so much more simply, so much more peacefully. I literally have everything I've ever wanted. All of the things I was going for and pushing for and trying to find, gave up on when I thought I had to downsize everything. God brought them all back to me. But he did it his way. He built the business the way he wanted it to be built. And only then did I get all the things I wanted. Another reason that I didn't feel the green light to restart this podcast until now is that I felt like the Lord was still writing the story. And yes, I'll always be a work in progress. Yes, I'll always be learning. Yes, my story is not over, but I feel like this chapter, this first 5 years of business, the story has been written, and I am now in a place where I can look back and holistically see the whole picture, see what the Lord was doing, and pull out things that I learned that I can share. So that's why I'm bringing the podcast back now. So let's talk about what things look like now. I have a stable primary business that is both mine and my husband's full-time job and provides for our family. That is like the foundation. I've been through my healing journey. My body and my mind and my spirit are in such a healthier place now. Rabbit hole to pregnancy and postpartum and everything that does to your body, that's another episode. But as a whole, I am so much healthier in my body and in my mind and in my heart. My heart is back in the right place, submitting my business to the Lord and not trying to take the reins. I will have to continually do that because my sinful flesh is going to want to keep taking it back. But I have gotten into a better pattern of surrendering and living my life with open hands to what the Lord wants to do with my life and my business. So much of my mental space was taken up by all of those things in the past. And because of all of this transformation, I feel like I have so much more margin now in my mind because things are so peaceful, which is a huge blessing because I feel like I've been able to naturally integrate motherhood and caring for my baby into that because there was that space. And I can't tell you how grateful I am for that. So as far as how my life looks now, how I'm entering into this space sharing with you and why I'm doing it, here's kind of how I view each bucket. Faith, family, motherhood, taking care of myself are always going to be first priority now. And they take up a lot more of my life now. But it looks like making sure that I am reading my Bible, making sure that I'm going to church, making sure that I am connecting well with my husband, that we have clear communication, that we have a healthy marriage, that he feels loved and served, and vice versa. Because those foundations lay the groundwork for everything else to flow. Of course, a large part of my life and my energy and my time is dedicated to caring for my son, which I'm so grateful to do. I'm so grateful to be able to sustain him and feed him. It's wild to think that my body is the sole thing that has kept his body going for over a year now. From conception to he is now 5 months old. He has only ever been breastfed. Like that is so mind-blowing to me, but girl, it takes a lot. It takes a lot. That's one of the things I was not fully mentally prepared for is the level of energy output that breastfeeding takes. So I have to stay on top of drinking my water, eating pretty much 4 meals a day, like making sure they're nutritious, getting sleep for myself so that I don't spiral. All of those things are very important. And then just the time itself of taking care of a child, helping him to sleep, all of these things, they have just naturally taken up the majority of my time now, and I wouldn't have it any other way. The whole reason that I was trying to get this business to a self-sustainable and peaceful point was so that I could have space to be with my baby, and I have that, and I'm so grateful for that. So that's what family and motherhood looks like for me. We spend a lot of great time with friends, family, loved ones. We get really poured into by our church family and by the people who surround us. That is also a huge reason that I feel like my mental health has stayed in such a good place because we have been so well supported and loved, especially through the transition into becoming parents. But through all of that, my passion for entrepreneurship has not wavered one single bit. I am not one of those people who had a baby and then was like, okay, I don't want to work at all anymore. And I actually thought I would be that person. I think there are a lot of benefits to that side of things, of fully throwing yourself into motherhood. And I so admire those who do that. And I think that you are superheroes. God has just designed and gifted everybody for different avenues. And I think for me, again, never expected this. I grew up with a stay-at-home mom. I just assumed that's what I would do. I've always wanted to be a mom. I've always been excited for that. But when the Lord ignited this entrepreneurial spirit in me back in 2021, that really shifted. And I actually realized maybe within the last year or so, like, oh, maybe I don't want to be a full-time stay-at-home mom. Like, I actually love my work so much, I can't imagine letting it go. And that has rung true. I actually eased back into work at that 7-week mark and didn't feel like I was pushing it, didn't feel like a strain, didn't feel dread going back to work. So I am grateful to now still retain that piece and work every day in some capacity on my business while also caring for my son. So in terms of business, Abide is still our primary income and our primary job, and therefore it's going to be my primary focus. So every day Luke is working full-time hours in the business. He's home, which I'm so grateful for, and he usually takes the baby for his first wake window and nap, so that allows me time to do things like this, which I'm so grateful for. And he's around to help and support throughout the day, but he does do his work full time. For me, it looks a little bit different because I would say that the business is my mental full-time job. I am still responsible for direction and the success of this business because I am doing the marketing, I'm doing the sales, I'm doing the operations, I am troubleshooting when something goes wrong, if a client's not happy, if something's going on with a team member, that's me. I am problem solving. I am staying on top of, okay, what's the next trend? How can we jump on top of it? What's another way we can serve our clients? Like, that is constantly going through my mind. And so, yes, I do have meetings to attend, like sales calls, like onboarding calls, like check-in with the team calls. Yes, I do have tasks to complete. Like, I always do the finances every month. I check in on our task manager, make sure everything's up to date. I'm checking in with team members and clients. Like, I am still having touch points all of the time, but I'm not sitting at my desk. And that's honestly exactly how I want it to be. Like, I am happy to fully apply myself to running my business. I just don't want to have to be glued to my desk or glued to the Zoom meetings. You know what I mean? So it's a perfect balance. And so I am continuing to refine and follow the Lord's lead in growing Abide as our primary business. There's always things to improve. There's always problems to solve. And so you'll continue to see me posting and innovating and running that company, because my true passion and what I feel the Lord has gifted me to do is build businesses. I love the thought process, the brainstorming, the tweaking, the operations. Like, that is just where I thrive. And so Abide is my primary avenue to exercise that. And then I can basically take that knowledge that I've learned from building and growing that business and apply it to what I share with you, to what I share with my friends, to building other businesses in the future. But it's like, it will always be the core. But I can't help myself. I'm just a multi-passionate girly. I can't not do multiple things at a time. It's just how I like to function. It doesn't feel chaotic to me. It actually feels very natural to have the practical thing that I'm constantly working on, like Abide, but then also have another avenue to share what I'm doing in that. Having entrepreneurial friends that I'm brainstorming with, toying with starting other businesses. I actually started a whole other business and closed it a year later in the midst of that whole story that I just told you. So I'll record another episode about that. All that to say, I'm constantly tinkering and doing other things. So now that I have the baby, I know realistically what kind of time I have to work with. I know what the mental and practical load of Abide looks like. I now can assess, okay, what can my other thing be? Like my passion project, like the new thing that I'm building and working on. And I need to make sure that it's something that does not take away from anything else that I'm doing, because I've spent this entire time painting the picture of things that are the foundation of our family and our income. But I crave this other piece of something that lights me up. Like I said, I love building things and tinkering with things. That's why I've chosen to start this podcasting journey, because it feels like a very natural integration and flow that I can share in real time what I'm working on and what I'm learning. And it's something that I can do on my own time and really be an outlet for expression and processing that will hopefully encourage and equip and help you in the process. So this final piece of the puzzle, here's what I envision the podcast to look like for now. I'm practicing what I preach. I am going simple. I'm not trying to do all the bells and whistles from the start. I've decided that my main 2 channels will be the podcast itself and Instagram. I'm using my Instagram posts to do organic and natural marketing for the podcast. Because if you're interested in what I'm talking about there, you probably want to hear more. And then you have the podcast episode to listen to. Yes, I know all the smart things to do. Blog, email list, Pinterest. I am slowly building toward them. I will get there. It's not that I'm not going to do them at all. It's just that I'm starting with what is sustainable and reasonable for me in this season. I'm also only going to be posting every other week for now because that's just the reality of what is most attainable and realistic. And that's a change because before this, like past Amy, every goal was unrealistic and I still tried to go for it. But we have changed. We're going for realistic now. And so you can find me on Instagram at HeyAmyElizabeth and find me here on Peaceful Entrepreneur. I'm also in the process of building a beautiful website with my friend Claire. That'll be thepeacefulentrepreneur.com. That's it for now. Yes, I'm viewing this as a business. Yes, I would love to build it and grow it, but I'm going about it differently this time. My goal is to be a resource to you. I'm not trying to be a coach. I'm not trying to be a mentor. I am just a peer. I am someone who is walking alongside you in business. I'm here to share my story and my experience and my tips to help you along your journey. If there are resources that I can create that help you even more, I would love to do so, but I'm going to wait until there's an actual need. I'm not just going to create something because I think it's a good idea, because that's how I used to function in business. But when I started to listen to what the need was, aka Amazon ads, ding, ding, ding. That's when the offer actually sold. So that's what I'm going to do here. I'm going to wait till there's a need and then build the thing. So please tell me what you need. From what you've heard from my story, what would be helpful for you? What can I share on the podcast? What can I build that would help get you through the specific point in business that you're at right now? So that's it. That's the current state of affairs for me and my businesses and my life. I've caught you up on the last 2 years. I've told you where I am now. I've told you where I'm planning to go. And now we just get to walk this journey together. I'm going to share with you along the way exactly what I'm doing, how I'm building my businesses, how I'm integrating motherhood and business, tips that I've found in motherhood to make it a little bit easier. So that's what you can expect from my content moving forward. I plan to record my pregnancy and birth journey and share that. I'll of course share about the business that I started and closed. And I also really want to bring other people on who have had the same experience, whose story I believe can encourage you as well. So thank you so much for being here. Thank you for taking time to listen to this, especially if you're here at the end. You know all the ways to support a podcast. Subscribe on the podcast platform or YouTube, interact with my Instagram content, share it with your friends, write a review on the podcast platform. Anything that you feel led to would be greatly appreciated by me so that we can reach more people and help more people have peace in their life and business. That's it for now. I'll see you next time.